Hello friends of the electrified charging fun and welcome to Speicher Elektrisiert, your channel all around Škoda's e-mobility. My name is Matthias and today we talk about service and maintenance and service intervals on your Škoda ENYAQ. And basically around 2 years when you've got your Škoda ENYAQ, the display will show you a maintenance or service interval warning. And you have the first contact with this topic. And whether you need some service on an electric car or not, you can discuss about that. Well, we can look at other manufacturers like Tesla who deal very different with this, but Škoda goes more the classic way. So after 2 years, they tell you that there is something to check, like brake liquids, brakes, light, the AC and stuff like that. Whether you think this is really needed or not is up to you. But in this video, I will explain you what they do, what they look after, what you can do on yourself, and some tips and tricks all around the service. So let's go. Basically, I will walk you through the complete service and maintenance check schedule the dealer or workshop will do. Please be advised that this checkup varies from country to country, so there might be some differences for your country. I don't have the plan for all European countries or all countries where the ENYAQ is sold. So basically, I have the check schedule for Switzerland, and so there should or could be some differences for you depending on the location where you live. But let's walk through the complete list in a rather quick way. I have to read a lot of stuff from my smartphone because I can't remember everything. So basically, the whole first service after 2 years is a check on site. They look at a lot of different things and they start with the car and the light. So they check the front windshield or if it's damaged. The next thing, they check all outside lights if they are working and if they are damaged in some way. And if your front lights are not correct, the settings are not correct, they will correct the settings. But this is an extra. This is not part of the check schedule. So you have to pay for this if they have to adjust them. Then they check the interior lighting. Next, they check the whole body of the car for corrosion. Then they check the horn if it honks. Next up is your front boot. So they will grease the mechanism which closes the hood to the engine. And when they open the front hood, they will also check the engine compartment from above and from below for damage. Also, they will check the front and rear axle if they can see any damage. And the last thing they will check is the underbody protection if there is any damage. So basically, you already know at this point that they will look under the car and check it. Next point is the windshield wiper. So they will check it if it works or not. Then they will check the water container in the front of the car if it is dirty, and in case if this is so, they will clean it up. Next, they will check the windshield wipers itself for damage. They don't have anything mentioned here that they have to refill the windshield water or to replace the windshield wipers. So this is an extra and you will see it on my bill. They will bill you for this if they exchange it, so maybe you will tell them don't do this. Next up is the brake system. First, they will check the brake fluid if there is enough in the system, and every 2 years they will exchange the brake fluid. Then they will check the brakes if they work, and next they will check the anti-lock braking system on there are some sensors, and they will check the sensors and the cables leading to the sensors on damage and if they are still attached to the car in the correct way. And then they will check the brake pad thickness if there is enough or not. Next, they will move to your AC. They will check if the AC is working and they will replace the dust and pollen filter of the system. This is due every 2 years. There are some countries where this has to be in a different cycle, but for most countries it's 2 years. Later on in the video I show you how you can do this on your own. And if you have an ENYAQ with a heat pump, and only for the ENYAQs with the heat pump, they have to replace the coolant liquid every 2 or 4 years. And for most countries it's 4 years, but it's highly country dependent. Well, basically it's carbon dioxide, which is the coolant liquid for ENYAQs with the heat pump, and they have to replace it. If you do not have a heat pump, there is no need for this. The next part is the battery and charging. So first off, they will check the low voltage, the 12-volt battery, if it's working. Then they will check your charging cable, if it's there and what is the current status. So is it damaged or something like this? So better keep the cable in the... Next, this is also funny, they will check the state of charge of the high voltage battery and, if needed, charge it. Basically, my car wasn't charged and it was not up to 80 or 100%. It is not mentioned how much they should charge. I don't know why this is part of the service. Next one is a bit more important. They will check the charge plug on the rear right side on dirt and damage and look if this is still working properly. And then they will check all high voltage components and cables. It's just a check on site. If it's damaged, are they still mounted, corrected, and is everything installed in a proper way? Funny part on this, I'm curious, how many parts do they disassemble from the car to check all the cables, because most of the cables you are not able to see. And the last thing they do, they check the coolant liquid of the high voltage system, if there is enough and if it's still capable of handling low temperatures. Last thing, there are a couple of more checks, like checking the Skoda Connect services on if they are working, but this is not the web apps like Pay to Park or stuff like that, because mine are not working. They only check if the car goes online or not. Then they check all the warning stickers on the car if they are there, like on the plugs for the high voltage system. Fun fact, later on you will see in my video on this. Then they will check the first aid kit and the breakdown stuff you have in your car, if it's there and if it's still valid or do you have to replace it. They will check the tires. Then they will do a test drive. This is the last step. And last thing you have to do is setting back the setup interval shown in the car and make an entry in the digital service plan. And yes, basically I know it's not technician, so it's technician, and I did it wrong the whole video, so please excuse, I don't know why I run into this error, but be assured, in the next videos I will call him the technician and not the technician. Yeah. Okay, sorry. When I pointed out a few videos ago that I will do a video on service and maintenance, few of you asked me, could you provide information on what qualification does a service technician need to work on a high voltage system? And yes, I tried to find everything out for you. Was not that easy, but I've got some information. And let's start off with the basics. When do we have a high voltage system? And it's quite easy. There's a European regulation called ECE R100 which deals with that. And it says in motor vehicles the permissible contact voltage has been set at 30 volt alternate voltage and at 60 volt direct current voltage. So if you are above 30 volts AC or 60 volts DC, you have a high voltage system. And to work with high voltage system, Skoda has a system of 3 levels of qualification. And the basic level is the EIP, the Electric Instructed Person. And an EIP, or an electrically instructed person, does have the allowance to work on a car which is where the voltage circuit is interrupted. So basically no high voltage can flow. And then it can do all the general work and maintenance, but the car needs to be certified voltage interrupted, and this has to be done by a high voltage technician. And the high voltage technician is the second level of qualification. And this guy is allowed to deactivate and activate high voltage systems and to put such a system in a certified voltage interrupted system. He is also allowed to put the voltage back into work and to take the car back into operation. But this guy is only allowed to work on intrinsically safe serious cars. Well, that is a different story. We'll talk about that later. So only those cars he is allowed to activate and deactivate, and then he is allowed to advise an EIP to do work on it. So basically there is a third level, and that is a high voltage expert. And this is the last level. This is the most qualified person, and this person is also allowed to do everything I already told you, but also work on not intrinsically safe serious cars. So basically on a car which had an accident, where you cannot be sure that if you follow the manual, the car has the voltage circuit interrupted. And he is allowed to work on those cars, and also he is allowed to work on energy storage systems like your battery below, the battery modules. So these are by nature not guaranteed free of voltage or voltage interrupted. So if you have to check for errors or have to replace a module on such systems, you need the highest level of qualification. Now you may ask, what is an intrinsically safe car? And before you Google, let me explain you. An intrinsically safe car means that the high voltage circuit can be interrupted automatically. And there's an easy way to do this. Just turn off the ignition of your car, or pull the fuse here in the front box, or put the maintenance plug on the adapter under the motor hut. And with all these things, you can interrupt the high voltage circuit automatically. And there is a protective device in every electric car, so also in the ENYAQ, and this is known as interlock system. And the interlock system is able to disconnect the voltage from the high voltage circuit if only one connection of the interlock system is open, so the circuit is interrupted. And the interlock is a 12 voltage circuit. And this is parallel to all the high voltage circuits and to all connections of the high voltage circuit. And as soon as the signal on this line is interrupted, the high voltage circuit will get interrupted and can't be put back into operation. All the contactors, all the relays protecting the high voltage circuits will interrupt this circuit. And now you understand why, when your 12-volt battery is depleted, the car cannot be set to operation, because this interlock system does not say, hey, it's safe and allowed. And therefore, we need the 12-voltage battery. Well, to be honest, you could solve it in a different way with any additional power source, but the safety demands that it cannot be provided by the high voltage system itself. It has to be an independent system. And in most modern electric cars, this is solved with a classic 12 voltage battery and the 12 voltage circuit. And please be advised, a vehicle which was involved in an accident is no longer considered an intrinsically safe vehicle. Therefore, you need the high voltage expert to work on this. So to round up this chapter, let's have a brief look at how to put your ENYAQ or any electric car into a de-energized mode so that the voltage circuit is interrupted. I already told you what you have to do, and basically what they do at the workshop is a certified person. So in my case, this ENYAQ does not have any accident. It's the high voltage technician. He will put on the plug on the maintenance port, and then he will check if the voltage is really interrupted. But he is not allowed to do this directly because we have some power electronics in an electric car, and within these power electronics we have capacitors which charge up to provide this extra punch you might need when driving to really have high current flow. And these condensators, these capacitors charge up and they need to decharge before. So the person who is de-energizing the car has to wait 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the model, until he performs the last check if the car is really de-energized. And after this, he may tell the electrically instructed person to do the work on the car. Before we move on to the chapter on what you can do on your own to save money, let's look at the side of money and cost. Here's my bill. Here's the invoice from my dealer. And in total, they billed me 656 Swiss francs. Well, I needed a spare car. I could not wait the whole day for it. I have to drive. So within this invoice, there is the car from the dealer. You have to pay for it. And if I deduct this from my invoice, let's only talk about the work and the material side. And they already removed the replacement of the windshield wipers because I told them, didn't you saw my video 2 months ago where I replaced them on my own? So basically there was no need for that. Later I tell you more on this in this video, but this is already removed from the invoice. And if I remove the car, we are at 572 Swiss francs point 53. And this is including tax. Well, the main service itself, I can show you here. The main service itself, so just the work, is 297 Swiss francs. This is without VAT. And then on this, there is a replacement of the dust and pollen filter. Work, 40 Swiss francs. And the filter itself, 62 Swiss francs. So 100 Swiss francs for the new filter. Then replacement of the braking liquid. And the braking liquid itself, it's combined 83 francs. And then they put in wiper water, so water for the windshield wiper. And they put in 2 times 4 liters, so 8 liters in total for 36 Swiss francs. They did it because I don't told them that they should not do it. I wanted the complete service with everything they are allowed to do, and so they did. But to be honest, the container only can take up to 6 liters, not 8. And there was already fluid in it. So yeah, the last point on this invoice is some fee for environment and removing stuff. So basically, I guess this is, they have to take it. It's 15 Swiss francs. And then we get to 570 Swiss francs total. And I really think this is a lot of money for such a small service. I already heard from different other countries that it is quite high and quite expensive. So write me in the comments what you have paid and if you think that it is fair or not. And yeah, we already learned from this, you always should tell the dealer what do you want that they do and what do you do not want that they do. Like, don't put in new wiper water, don't remove the wipers, and you can do something on your own, which I tell you in a second. One short advice I already forgot to mention. Check if they really set back the service interval display, because in my case they didn't. So I had to go to the dealership again because you can't do that on your own that easily. So basically, yes, just have a quick look if they set back the display for the service interval, and then you're good to go. Well, the easiest thing you can do on your own is refill the water for the windshield wipers. And to be honest, you're doing this on a regular basis, so why should you pay your workshop for it? And whether you have the funnel up here or not, it's quite easy to put the water in. And you're doing this all the time, so yes, nearly as easy as refilling the wiper water is replacing the wiper blades, the front wiper blades as well as those on the rear. And if you want to know how to do this, there's a complete video on my channel. I'll link it down in the description. And so you can put on the wiper blades you want, maybe from a third-party provider like Bosch or Continental, which are definitely better than the original equipment from Skoda. And if you look carefully, you might notice that I have the original Skoda wiper bladers on my car. Why is it? Because my dealer thought it would be a good idea to replace the wipers because he had the opinion that they smeared and they were not good. Just 2 months after I changed to Bosch in my video. Well, he accepted this fact and just removed this item from the bill, but he couldn't find my Bosch Aero Twin wiper blades. So yes, now I'm back to the Skoda ones, and as it is really hard to get the A0727 wiper blades from Bosch in Switzerland, I'm now stuck with those who are not near as good as the ones from Bosch. Another thing you could easily do on your own is changing the dust filter. This dust filter is below here, below this fabric, and it's quite easy to access. So the first thing is to remove this plastic knobble here, this white little thing, and then just remove the fabric, pull it down here, so you have access to this hatch. Then just press gently here and you can remove the hatch. And basically then you have direct access to the filter right here. There are 2 slots for 2 filters, so in most countries you will only find one, but it is possible that depending on your country you have a second filter mat in here. Now you can easily pull this mat out like this, and there you go. This is the dust and pollen filter of the ENYAQ, and now you can replace it on your own or just vacuum it or use some pressured air to clean it up and use it again, because this might be good for a second usage. Then just slide it back in, put the hatch on like this, and after you did this, you are already ready to go. Put the fabric back on. Don't forget the white knobble and just press it on here and do it in the correct way. So the correct way to put it on is like this. And you've done. You've changed your dust and pollen filter on your own and saved a lot of money instead that the workshop does it for you. And basically, these 3 things are all the stuff you can do from a normal maintenance interval on your own. Doing some checks like looking for the light, the brake discs or the fluids of the brake and stuff like that is not of any use for you, because in most countries the service itself is a flat fee, so you don't save any money on this. Where you save money is on the additional work the dealership or the workshop does and on the material. So you should focus on that. As you saw on my bill, this is what they build extra and the service was a flat fee. So in the end, it's the same as with your combustion engine car when it comes to your electric Skoda ENYAQ. All the stuff you did not want the dealer or the workshop to do, you have to tell them. Yes, they should tell you before they start the service, but I know of a lot of dealers who don't do this. So be explicit on this and tell them what you do not like to do, because as you already saw, you can do a lot on your own, like changing the windshield wipers or even replacing the filter mat for your AC. And this could save you a lot of money. You can buy all the stuff you need easily online and use it for yourself. Also, our little view into the high voltage technology and what skill set you need to bring to the table if you want to work on this might be useful for you. And if it's like this, then please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, consider to subscribe and help the channel grow. Also, a huge thanks to all of my supporters who donated via YouTube thanks or via PayPal. The link for PayPal is in the description below. You help me keep this channel running. So thanks a lot for that. And then we'll see each other in the next video. And until then, stay full of energy.